It is 8:07 in the morning here on the east coast of Florida on May 19th. It's Monday. Happy Monday. Hope the Monday blues aren't too bad today for you. I always like to put the location of where I am in my videos because I'm nerdy like that, but today it's pertinent because it's May 19th and haven't checked in a minute. I was in Europe traveling, crazy schedule, but basically the date and location are relevant because I'm here in the United States and not still in Europe. I was supposed to be in Europe through early June, and clearly I am not there. Why, might you ask? I'll tell you in a minute, but first I want to talk a little bit about traveling with a female passport. So, as you know, I had a tumultuous time acquiring my passport, and it came as female, super disappointing. I also had never traveled abroad before, so I didn't know what to expect in terms of that. Like, I'd never gone through customs, I had never gone through passport control, I had never done any of that. And then I was going on this very ambitious trip all around. I went to, I think, 6 countries, and 7 if you count Vatican City, and I was doing it alone, so I'm a lone wolf. I like to do things alone. I liked the idea of solo travel, but just I had never crossed the pond by myself, and especially with female identification. It was great. There were no problems. I flew from here, from Jacksonville, to Charlotte, North Carolina, and so when I went through in Jacksonville, I just showed my Florida ID, which is male. I didn't show passport because I was going, connecting domestically. I was like, whew, because I was sweating that. Security went fine. I have a card that says I have a 3-piece pump in case it flags the machine. It did not, so I didn't need to show that, so that was a non-issue as well. And then got through at Charlotte, and then I realized boarding Charlotte to London that I was going to have to show my passport. I thought I was going to have to show it to the woman herself, but then she just took it, scanned it, said, "Have a nice flight, sir." I was worried with the biometric scan that it would somehow not match because it says female, and I in no way look female. But no flags, so got on the plane to London, survived the 7-8 hour flight. So flight was fine. We touched down at Heathrow, which had been shut down due to fires the day before, so I was lucky with that. So love London, got to go on a day trip to Brighton, saw a lot of cool things in London itself. Great city. Well, let me back up a little bit. Leaving Heathrow, instead of going through a person, because I was really nervous when I landed in the UK, instead of going through a person, I chose to go through the e-gates. And once again, I scanned it. There was no one there. It's just a machine. You scan it, takes a picture of your face, it all lined up, let me through. Once again, it did not flag like female, but it's a dude. So that was fine. So landing, fine, totally okay. The next time I have to cross, I'm taking a train, so you have to go through an actual person. The man takes a look at it, he says, "Thank you, monsieur, enjoy your time in France." Didn't spend much time in Paris except to just connect to a train to Amsterdam. From there, they don't have border checks all in the Schengen area, I think it's pronounced. And so no problems traveling between, UK, France, Belgium, Netherlands, back down through, I went through Italy, Switzerland to Italy. Oh, that was the most beautiful train ride. I would go back to Zurich just to take the train ride from Zurich to Milan. Hello, ADD. But either way, once I was traveling all through the countries I mentioned, never had a problem. Didn't have to show my passport except again I flew Rome to Brussels. Didn't flag anything, security was fine, but the woman did look at the gate when she let me out. She's like, "Wait a second, come back." And she looked, but then she looked at me and then she said, "Have a nice flight." It was not a problem at any Airbnb where I had to take a picture of it or show them if I met the host, or any hotel. So no one gave me any kind of problem over my female identification the entire trip. So then I go to surf camp, all is well until about the second week in, and then the reason why I'm back in the US happens. So let's get into that. Why did I come back from Europe early? Why did I cut back my first trip abroad short? Believe me, I did not want to. I have an infection in my ED, in my pump. you can see infection up to a year out. It's a fairly easy surgery, kind of a painful surgery for some, but in terms of recovery, it was real simple, the easiest one so far. But Dr. Santucci said really high infection rate, and he said he sees them up to 11 months out. So I knew it wasn't out of the woods. Healed well, decision's okay, doing okay, it works. It still works, despite the infection. But also my infection's a little bit of a mystery. So, a little bit of a timeline. I left for Europe March 22nd. I finished a course of antibiotics for this very issue, swelling in both my testicles and penis. I was like, oh no. I had noticed it obviously 2 weeks before leaving, and I was like, no, I can't get an infection now. So that was late February, early March. Just felt like just shit that weekend. And because this had never happened before, I thought it was just like a little virus, maybe a little bit of a cold. I didn't know, but my balls were really swollen and hard. And then the next day, the phallus was swollen. And then the third day, they were all swollen. And so I went to my doctor in Gainesville, and he gave me 2 weeks of a certain antibiotic. And I did it, finished it a couple days before leaving, all is well. Traveling all throughout Europe, everything's fine. I walked more than I ever did in my life. So my first stop was London. I was there for 4 days. I did notice my phallus was swollen after a few days. And I'll be honest, my mental health was terrible from January to March with the Cheeto being elected and all that. And I am much better now. I'm in a way different place. But Europe really was a reset, even though I had to go to short. But mental health was not good. So I was not exercising, is my point. But when you're in Europe, you're going to walk a lot more. So my phallus swelled a little bit, but it was nothing like this. And it went down the next day, and I was like, this just must be, I'm just not used to moving around so much. There's, basically a stylus inside of it. And so I thought it's just irritated. And I was right. It went down. It was fine. After I went to bed the next morning, it was totally fine. And it didn't interfere with my pee stream or anything. It's fine. But then Amsterdam's my next stop. I did more walking there than anywhere or any time on the planet. It was endlessly walkable, adorable, quaint. I knew Amsterdam would probably be my favorite city, and it was. Italy was my favorite country, also, as I predicted. But basically the point is I walked more in Amsterdam than anywhere else. I was like, is it going to happen again? I don't know. And then basically just was very active in Amsterdam and had expected some swelling. Not happen. I go to Belgium for 2 days, and it happened again. Like the hard testicles, first day happened the same way. Then the phallus, and then testicles again. The second day when it happened, my phallus had started to turn like pink and then like red, and I was on a train from Belgium to Switzerland, I believe, and I was like, great. Like I went to go pee, and the color of my dick was just like scary. And so I was like, fuck, I gotta email the Crane Center, because I had been so busy with the trip, I never let them know that I had been put on antibiotics, in March, for what we suspect was perhaps an infection in my ED. And so I emailed them, I showed them pictures, and didn't hear back for a day or two. And then I was in Italy, and they called me while I was in Milan. They were like, yo, can you come to Texas to be evaluated? We think you have an infection. Like, that is not a good color. I was like, no, I'm in Italy, and I gotta get to Rome tomorrow. That was the highlight of my trip. But I was also, they didn't realize I was overseas and not in Florida. So they said, can you get to a doctor? You need antibiotics. So I wanted to go out and do some sightseeing that night, and I was so annoyed. I was like, all right, I'll go try to find a doctor or whatever. It was already like 8 or 9 p.m. because of the time difference. I went to a pharmacy. They referred me to some urgent physician. Of course, he was closed. In the morning, I had a train ride to Rome. So, I didn't get to see a doctor, so I just hoped for the best. When I woke up in the morning, it was maybe halfway down, so I was like, okay, that's a good sign. And I just got on the train and then got to Rome, and then by the next day, the swelling had gone down, so it was fine. So I was in Rome the longest, like 5 days out of any of the cities I was in, and it went down on its own, which Dr. Santucci said is weird. Then, fly up to Brussels, take a train to Amsterdam, and that's when I start surf camp. So that's like the first week of April. I everything's going fine. I'm also active there, but not walking as much, but still walking more than I'm used to. But, you know, we did some heavy lifting, but nothing crazy. And then, night of Easter Sunday, I'm like, are my balls starting to swell again? Then Monday, oof, the phallus was fat and swollen, and the balls were big, hard, and swollen, and I did not feel well. I was extremely fatigued. I just was extremely achy, but it was raining, and, you know, we're camping out in the tent, and so I was like, oh, I'm just achy because I'm old, and it's raining and freezing on the beach in the Netherlands. But then it was pretty concerning because the phallus was so swollen it was interfering with my pee stream, and I was like, damn, if this gets worse, I'm gonna have to get like a suprapubic catheter. So I told myself if I woke up on that Tuesday morning, if it was still swollen, I would go to the doctor. So when I woke up Tuesday morning, I was like, oh, I gotta go to the doctor. What's up? It's 11:04 here in the Netherlands. We all got to get private accommodations last night, like little teepees or shetties, which was nice instead of being in a 9-person dorm. But unfortunately, well, first of all, thank goodness it's not raining. It's cold, but it's not raining, which makes all the difference. No mud, no soaked clothing. But unfortunately, I'm very sick. I am almost certain my pump is infected, and it might have to come out. I'm gonna go see a doctor in Haarlem, a little town outside of Amsterdam, in 2 hours. I got an appointment at 1. She's gonna hopefully give me some antibiotics. I hope that takes the swelling down. This happened in Belgium and Italy too. Sought out a doctor, a pharmacy, it just didn't work out. But, you know, I had a hysterectomy over 10 years ago, and it feels like I still have those parts and they're on fire. I'm almost certain that's the titanium suture, in the reservoir in my stomach that's infected, and then, my nether regions are swollen to fuck, like, I can hardly pee. It's scary, and terrible, so wish me luck, because I really hope this wouldn't have happened, but you can't make it. It's 12:05, and I got a shower, so I'm not gross for the doctor, but, yeah, it's not raining, but I have the appointment at 1. I'm gonna grab an Uber, and I really hope this can be solved with antibiotics, because I really don't want a surgery here. I don't have anybody to come with me. It's scary. But my junk is so swollen and painful, like I can hardly walk. I'm starting to feel really sore in the rest of my body, so maybe it's like a viral thing. I don't know. This has almost happened every 3 weeks. I was on a 2-week course of antibiotics right before I left for Europe 1 month ago. It's been 1 month I've been in Europe, so I just hope I can get some antibiotics and not end up in the hospital. Cross your fingers for me. I got to the doctor. She's over here. My appointment's not for 20 minutes. But yeah, I hope this doctor can help me. She's over here. I'm about to go check in. I really don't want to get this taken out, and I really don't want to get it taken out here. I got no one to be with me, check me out. I don't know. But it'll be fine. If I have to have surgery, I have to have surgery. It is what it is. So I wake up that Tuesday morning. It's super swollen. I know I have to go to a doctor, so I look it up. I look up urgent care in the nearest town, which is Haarlem, just outside of Amsterdam. And I found a tourist doctor, and I had to call and explain. And it's always weird talking about this stuff, but the more, you know, I've had so many surgeries now, I'm just very, like, open, whatever, just, like, direct. I've always been that way with anything trans stuff, when dealing with that kind of stuff. But it always is a little bit like, oh, like, my penis is swollen, and so are my balls. But I call. And, you know, there's also the language barrier. Not a language barrier, but they answered in Dutch. But thank goodness all of the world is way more educated than us Americans, and they all speak English. And just like as a side note, at surf camp, I was one of 2 native English speakers, and then everyone else spoke 2 to 4 languages. So I was like, I really need to work on my Spanish. And I was like, geez, yeah, okay, I'm showing my ass as an American. All right, ADD tangent. Either way, I called up the doctors. I explained what happened. They were very cool. And then they're like, can you come at 1? So I was like, sure. So I rested in the morning, grabbed a shower, and then headed out to Haarlem. What I thought was going to be like 3-4 hour afternoon, like go see the doctors, then give me a round of antibiotics like I'd just been on 3 weeks prior, and I would go home. No, not at all. First I saw this younger 4th year med student. She was amazing. She was using terms like gender affirming care. She's like, besides your gender affirming surgeries, have you had many surgeries in life? You know, they were trying to get my health history and whatnot. I was like, you know, a lot of doctors in the United States don't know those terms. It was so, it really put me at ease. She examined me, was super professional, then had the head doctor come in. Swelling had gone down a little bit, but even the head doctor, she goes, your penis, it looks erected already. I said, it does look that way. It's actually kind of cool because with the fallow, with the pump, it lifts it. It doesn't make it bigger or, swell or, get longer and have that like erection. It just lifts it. It's functional, which is great, but it doesn't have that, whatever. So for the first time I got to see what my cock would look like with a fucking boner. And I said, yeah, it was cute how she said it looks erected. And I was like, well, it does, yes. I said, but that's the swelling. I said, I have to pump this bulb to get an erection. And I showed her, but I wouldn't be able to get to the release valve because my testicles were so swollen. And she's like, oh, I see. And she's like, but she's pressing around and feeling, and she's like, I think your body is just irritated from having this stuff in there, but let's take your blood anyways because we just want to make sure. So they take my blood, and my infection value is much higher than they suspected because they were just going to send me home and tell me to rest. But I was like, no, I need antibiotics. I know this. So since my infection value was high, they're like, we're going to call urology at the hospital. And I was like, okay. So they call urology, and they're speaking in Dutch, and I'm like, this is not good from how the conversation's going. They get off the phone, and they're like, you need to go to XYZ hospital and report to the ER because they're expecting you. The urologist wants to see you. I was like, oh no. And I was like, where is it? It ended up being in this little suburb just outside of Harlem called Hoopdorf. So I was like, are they expecting me today? Because I was tired. I wanted to go back to camp and sleep and just rest. And they're like, yeah, they want to see you now. So they called a specific hospital because they had a urologist that knew about phalloplasty, and he was concerned enough to want to see me. So I went to the hospital. So not great news. At first they thought, oh, it's not infected, it's just fluid buildup, but we did a blood test and the infection value was much higher than expected. So I have to go to the hospital, so I have to go see urology, and they're like, hopefully you don't have a surgery. I'm like, so I'm scared, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I feel very weak, and I have to figure out how to get to this hospital in a different town. It's so overwhelming. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen the next 24 hours, but it does not sound fun.